Good evening, folks. I have read your policy papers today and have given you feedback on your paper, and your grade will be calculated in your rubric. Be sure that you take the time to go in and read that feedback and plan on using that feedback to develop your writing skills. If this felt like a very daunting task, either from a concept standpoint or a writing standpoint, know that there are resources. Anytime you're approaching an assignment, especially one like this, it's very complex. Do not ever hesitate to ask for clarification on instructions. It's one of the reasons we have the Ask the Professor link. In general, the requirements for this assignment were pretty straightforward. Professional writing is a skill that's developed. Most of you are coming from an undergraduate degree. Many of you have been out of school for quite a while. So if you feel rusty in developing your writing skills, I'm going to encourage you to use the Liberty Online Writing Center. They have tutors, they have people that will proof your paper, give you positive feedback, developmental feedback, and help you organize your writing. For the remainder of this course, this is the big paper that you're going to have to do. I think you've got a discussion board in week 8 and a presentation next week. But if you're going to be enrolled, if you're not finishing the program, and I don't think anybody's even close to finishing, if writing is hard for you, I want you to use the resources that are there for you. Very often, especially when students first get started, there's a sense of frustration of, why can't I just deal with the content, and then why does it have to be such a big deal that I can write well or that I use APA formatting? And I think I may have mentioned this in the first week or two of class, but it's important that not only are you able to have good ideas and be able to understand those good ideas, but you need to be able to appropriately express them in writing in a way that communicates your knowledge, and that's using the structure of professional writing. And APA is the writing structure that is the framework that we use for most healthcare programs. So we do want you to be thoughtful about that. Many of you did a really, really good job with this. There were let me see. I think your classmate Heidi is the only one who was creative and brave enough to put a diagram in her paper. So fantastic when you attempt those more complex topics. My hope for you is, for this paper that you were working through all of your level headings, and the vast majority of you needed level 1, level 2, and level 3 headings, as well as polishing your reference list. Heidi got brave and put in a figure, and I was super excited to see that. Your classmate Alyssa, who's also Dorothea, but she prefers Alyssa, was highly successful in using level 1, level 2, and level 3 headings. And this is not easy. So if you felt like you were stretching yourself to use level 1 and level 2, that's fantastic. Continue to process and think about how you use the headings that help you organize your writing. Remember, the use of level headings is there for 2 reasons. One, it helps give structure to your paper and helps guide your writing and your thinking so that it is organized and concise. It also guides your reader so that in a section someone can read the heading and think, okay, this is what's going to be in this area. And it is, if you think about the research articles that you read that have been published, they all use level headings. The reason they do that is for structure and guidance. And I do want you to be in the mindset of knowing that is an expectation of graduate level writing. So I appreciate those of you that braved the waters and made efforts to be successful in that. I was really very pleased with all of that. From an APA standpoint, the primary thing I want to remind you is to proofread your reference list. One of the things that I have noticed in my years of grading is that the reference list is the last thing that gets done. And it's often the thing that you're trying to do when you're most tired, you're most up against the time frame, and you're rushing through it. And I know this very often because when I look at a reference list that has maybe a dozen references, there's 1 or 2 that are perfect, which tells me the formatting. You know how it's supposed to look. But time, compression, the inability to focus makes it harder to be detail-oriented. So I'm going to encourage you that once you're done with your paper, plan time to put the paper to bed, and then the very last thing you do 24 hours later is to reread your paper and to proofread your reference list. Make sure that what's in your reference list has been cited in the body of your paper, and make sure that you're following the formatting requirements for APA that are expected in graduate level writing. So just be detail-oriented in that. Next week, you have got your health policy issues position, and this is a presentation. It's going to be using either a voiceover PowerPoint or a YouTube video. I think you can do a Jing or a screencast-o-matic. However you want to do that, there needs to be a visual component, so you need a slide set, and then there needs to be an audio component where you're doing a voiceover component in some way. You should not have more than 15 minutes, and that's a hard number, so stick with 15. My encouragement to you is before you go through all the trouble of video recording or audio recording what you're doing, take your timer out on your cell phone, click timer, and run through the dry run 1 or 2 times to time how long is it going to take me to say what I've put on my slides. And then curtail what you have based on that time frame versus you start recording and you record and you record and then you realize you're at 25 minutes and 10 minutes of that is not going to get listened to. So you need to be really disciplined about what is it I'm trying, what am I trying to tell my listener, which is me, and how detailed can I be, but also be concise. The benefit you have is your presentation is very much based on the paper you just wrote. So you're going to develop a slide set that outlines key components of that paper and presents it as if that you were trying to persuade someone to adopt your idea and to understand the policy that you've considered. I want to remind you that a professional slide set is going to use minimal words, only words that are or narrative that's highly important. You're going to use graphs or pictures or tables to provide context for what you're saying. You're going to avoid cartoony types of clip art. It's okay to use regular pictures of real people. But you don't want to make it look amateurish. So you want to use professional types of pictures. The other thing you want to do is remember to use in-text citations on your slide. Think about writing a paper. You know, if you're writing a paragraph and it was supported by an author and the author's work, you're going to put an in-text citation on there. You'll do the same thing with a slide set. For each slide, as you provide information, you want to put an in-text citation where it's appropriate on that slide. And of course, your last slide or two is going to be a reference list. So you want to make sure that you're properly in-text citations and then using a reference list as well. See if I'll check my notes. Guys, I think that's everything. It has been kind of a long day. These papers were pretty involved, so I've been reading a lot. I appreciate your efforts to continue to polish your writing and to develop your ideas. We are in the home stretch. You've got week 7, which you're working on now with your presentation, and then your last one is a discussion board. I want to remind you that a step of week 7 is to post your presentation in your group discussion board, and those were assigned last week. So make sure that once you get this done that you post it in your group discussion board, because that's going to be part of week 8's grading. So just make sure you read those instructions very carefully. Use the Ask the Professor link for the who, what, where, when, how kinds of logistic questions. And then touch base with me with anything personal related to your grade. I'm happy to discuss it or walk through your paper with you if you need additional feedback. I hope you have a safe and enjoyable July 4th. My hope is that you are taking a little bit of time off to catch your breath, spend some time with people that like you, and refill your well. It is been a busy couple of weeks, so I'm sure that having a deep breath would be good for us all. So I'm traveling Friday through the weekend for my niece's wedding, but I will not be falling off the grid. Just know Saturday, with it, Saturday's the wedding. I will not have as direct access to technology as I normally do, so there may be a delay in getting back with you. Just know I'm there. It'll just take a little while. I hope you guys have a great 4th. Be safe. Take care.